I am Bria Bloom. I'm in Portland, Oregon, in the United States on Multnomah and Clackamas lands. I am an unschooling parent slash like self-directed education center parent of a 10-year-old, and I run a flying squad. If you didn't go to the flying squad offering earlier, I hear there's a recording, but that's something. Alex also runs a flying squad, and yeah, we do that together. And Fairplay is a game Alex invented a long flipping time ago, and maybe when I wasn't even born yet. No, not that long ago. And our squads play it often, so it seemed fun to share it in conjunction with that, and in conjunction with just like the spirit of having an awesome time with young people. I think that's it.
Thank you. I'm Alex Khost. I live on stolen Lenape land, better known as Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, I thought Bria and I were thinking about making some offerings for this conference, and so we did one previously 2 days ago on what we do, which are flying squads, which is a methodology of unschooling. But I thought it would be kind of fun to do something a little bit more silly, and so this is a game. I have many siblings. The brother just older than me, Peter, who I'm ashamed to say I didn't even invite him to this. I should have asked him to join me. But my dad's here, and I don't think I've ever played Fairplay with my dad. So at least we got that. But so my brother and I grew up back in the dinosaur years, apparently. And we used to play Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I always used to say that even before I was into self-directed education, I used to say that my education was two things. It was traveling the world and playing Dungeons and Dragons. And now that I work with young people, a huge part of what I do is role-playing games. So Dungeons and Dragons, but other games. And I've now with young people that I work with, we've invented a bunch of our own role-playing games. My favorite is a game that we invented a few years back called Trumpians, which is a game where Donald Trump has taken over the world and everybody's fled underground and there's radiation, and you're battling these evil people or something like that. But in any case, Fairplay was the game that sort of inspired a lot of these young people invented role-playing games. My brother and I invented it when we started traveling together, and we were actually in England in 1995 together, and we realized that Dungeons and Dragons, if you're not familiar with the game, is a game that has many, many, many rules. It also has many, many books that are big and heavy, and dice, and it's very complicated. And we wanted to have that type of experience, but while traveling without having to lug around a lot of books. And we decided we'd challenge ourselves to water down role-playing or D&D down to the simplest form whatsoever. And that's how we came up with Fairplay. And our challenge was to make it so that the rules and the character sheet fit on one piece of paper. And what you're looking at, the screen that I'm sharing, is the directions and the character. In fact, there's a PDF version where indeed we did fit it onto one piece of paper. But for readability, I've zoomed in on it on the website instead. And so we invented it as a game for ourselves and for some adult friends of ours, but soon I'm trying to think, it was a few years after that I really started, well, a bunch of years after that in any case, that I started teaching in self-directed education environments. I started a democratic free school, sort of inspired by Summerhill. Oh, one thing I wanted to say was, and actually it's sort of appropriate that my dad's here, that we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Summerhill. But for me personally, I realized I'm also celebrating the 30th anniversary of my involvement in self-directed education, it was exactly 30 years ago that my father handed me a copy of the book Summerhill, A Radical Approach to Child Rearing. This exact book right here that I have on my bookcase.
Oh my.
And and which started all of this off. It's very exciting. It was 30 years ago that I wrote a letter, because this was the days before the internet. I wrote a letter. Somehow I found the address to Summerhill and I mailed a letter and was like, "Are you still around?" And I still have the letter that was like, "Yep, we're alive and well." In any case, so I started playing this game with kids and realized immediately that Fairplay and kind of any role-playing game is that much more fun with young people, because their minds they're open to it. And so I've used it as just kind of a thing that I pull out every once in a while. And it's the type of game that you can play. I'm going to teach you sort of the rules that we played by, that we invented. But I've now played this as a game, like, for example, if I'm on a trip with a bunch of young people and we're in a subway or on a bus or a train, and you have 45 minutes to kill, or even literally I've played this walking down the sidewalk, coming back from the park back to the unschooling center I work at. And you can really truly water this down to really ultimately what this is it's collaborative storytelling, as is true of most role-playing games. And then what restrictions you place on that is kind of what makes the game fun. All right, so I am going to just move Windows slightly. And anything, oh, and the other thing I want to say is Bria has kind of more recently taken this game. I'm just going to close that for now and make this window like that. Bria has been playing this game on a on a weekly basis, Bria? Is that right? For not the whole pandemic, but a good
Yeah, like every week since the pandemic began, basically.
And so this is a game that you can play. When I've played in the beginning of the pandemic, I was playing this a lot with I'm back in person with my group, so we've stopped playing it online. But you can play this over Zoom. Sometimes when I play it over Zoom, I'll do a whiteboard screen share where I'll let all of I'll like put a collaborative drawing tool up where people can draw together and that sort of a thing. So you can really kind of take this game wherever you want. In any case, the game you need, if you're going to play it by the classic rules, you don't need any of this. All you need is your brain. But paper, a blank piece of paper, a pencil, and coins, or a coin, one coin per. Well, so if you only have one coin in your pocket, you can share it around the group. I've also played this where we didn't have coins and we had dice. It's kind of a binary game where there's a yes and a no, but it doesn't even have to be that way. There's a kid that I work with who is a genius game designer, and he started buying blank dice and drawing things on them, like for different decisions. And so you can really take this game anywhere you want. I've also had groups of people who've taken this game and decided that they were going to make maps of it and like make it into a long story over months that's unfolded. But all right, so here's kind of the vanilla instructions. I'm not going to read them all off, but essentially you have a GM or a game master who's sort of the narrator. They're the person that if you think of like a play, and you have the narrator or the stage manager or something like that, the person who sort of decides what the scene is going to be and all the different things that people interact with, right? You have that person. And then you have characters, which today will be any of you who want to participate. And each person creates a character, and we'll go through the character sheet in a minute. And the game master comes up with a situation, and then an end goal, and sometimes multiple goals, usually multiple goals. We're going to play a slightly watered down version, since I find this game if you're really going to play it through, it takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, but you can play it in 20 minutes or you can play it in 3 hours, depending upon the patience of the group. And so the character sheet kind of helps you make a well-rounded character. So you would come up with, in fact, as I'm talking, if you want to start writing this down, if you want to play, come up with a name. We'll just, for the simplicity, everybody, if you, health or hearts or hit points, or, you know, like when you're playing a video game or something like that, the amount of times that you can get hit before you get knocked out or lose the game, we named that burnout points. Some of the language of this is actually rather adult-like, because again, we had invented this, like things like obsessions. We had invented to play it with adults. We'll just start everybody with 10 burnout points today. You can either do that, usually that's what I do, or you can flip a coin, and however many times it lands, you flip it 10 times, the amount of times it lands heads is how many burnout points you get. Obsessions, these are things that you desperately need. I forget how many, because I've changed it with kids, how often you have to feed your obsession. I usually do about every 3 rounds, yeah. Every 3 rounds, so each of us goes around 3 times, and after you've gone around 3 times, whatever your obsession is, you have to do it. And if you don't, you get knocked out, okay? Oh, another thing about this game is we wanted to make it fun, so we're thinking about sort of, you know, in a lot of especially old-fashioned cartoons, but maybe even today's cartoons, you know, the anvil falls on the head of the character and they fall into the pavement and they're knocked out. And then then it cuts to the next scene and they're completely fine just walking down the street again. That's fair play. The idea is this game isn't a winning losing game. And while you can kind of play it competitively or collaboratively as you like, the point of this game isn't actually to get to the end. It's just to have fun together. And so when you run out of burnout points, in the original rules, you get knocked out for 1 round. So everybody else gets to go once while you're knocked out. While you're knocked out, no one's allowed to like mess with you or do anything. You're just knocked out and then you wake back up exactly where you were at full health again. When I play this with 4, 5, 6-year-olds, and I play this with 4, 5, 6-year-olds relatively often or have, I usually skip that. I usually just say, oh, you're knocked out, and then you come right back up. But you can kind of adjust that as works with your group. But your obsession is something, my favorite obsession, this young person I work with named B, who I've worked with for years and years and years, always plays the same character. And her obsession is always the same thing, which is that she has to water a plant. Every 3 rounds, she has to water a plant. But it can be anything. And oftentimes I love to, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Let's go through the rest of the character sheet. Personal habits is just sort of a way of trying to get you to explain who your character is. Despise things, again, it's the opposite of maybe personal habits. These are your hobbies. These are things that you really don't like doing. Then fears help when somebody is not successful in the game. Fears and reasons for total mental breakdown. A total mental breakdown would be something that's so awful that it would knock all your burnout points out again. And you can do that as you wish. And fears are just things that would reduce your health. So say you're afraid of stinky shoes, and you go to do something and it doesn't succeed, and all of a sudden somebody takes a shoe off and sticks it in your face and it stinks and you lose some health, that sort of a thing. So hobbies, again, just a way of making yourself well-rounded. Special abilities is kind of the one that young people tend to, depending upon the kid, oftentimes abuse, where they're like, I can teleport and I'm invisible and I can create lightning at will and I can do all this stuff. And sometimes I'll jump ahead for a second, which is when you get those kids and you get a bunch of them, or when you get that person, it doesn't have to be kids, and they're like make themselves, especially like the kids who make themselves super powerful where they can beat any villain. I make the goal of the game something like you have to help two people get married or something like that, where all of a sudden the fact that they can shoot lightning out of their fingers is totally pointless. But you know, like it's fun to just sort of play with it. And then it doesn't have to be 3 possessions. We put down 1, 2, 3 because it should be limited. But things that the person has on them. And often, sometimes people will have like the thing that they can pull out of their, you know, like a mallet out of their pocket, or somebody keeps a spaceship as a possession, or, you know, whatever. I try to keep people to limit things. And then it's oftentimes, especially if you're playing with younger kids or pre-literate kids, forget all of that. Ask them that stuff. Maybe go around and be like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And just get them to draw a picture. Give them some colored pencils and paper and let them draw pictures while you're doing it. And that usually, and that's the character sheet in that type of a case. So I'm going to give you our situation and goals for today, and then we can kind of.
Can I add something quickly?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I was just going to say with younger kids, if they really want to track their characters, I track them for them. Like I'll write everything down that they say, and then I'll remind them of what it is. Because I have some young players who can't write, but really want specific character traits and then want me to tell them what's going on. So it's also a strategy.
That's, as a game master, when I'm the game master, I tend to keep notes on everyone, even if they are people who've written down. It's nice to keep notes, especially of the fears and reasons for total mental breakdown. I keep, because in this game, so essentially the game is, instead of rolling dice in Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, somebody says, you know, I open the door. You get 1 action per turn. And you can't say like, I open the door, I walk down the stairs, I get into a taxi, I go to the supermarket and I buy a bunch of potatoes, right? That would be a bunch of actions. The action would be, I open the door. And then they flip a coin. If it lands heads, or whatever your coin's version of heads is, it's successful. If it lands tails, it's not successful. So if it lands heads, what they wanted happens. You say you opened the door, and then you describe what's behind the door. If it lands tails, what I normally do is I take their fear or their despised thing, or if I want to be really cruel, their reason for a total mental breakdown. So if you hate stinky shoes, I'll say, well, I have good news and bad news. You open the door, but when you open it, there's a giant shoe there and the smell of it wafts into your face. And, you know, you take 3 burnout points. And that sort of a thing. And that's how the game goes on. Oh, and before I forget, because I always forget to say this, the game is named Fair Play because once in the game, you get a fair play. And a fair play is the improbable, is because this game is, even as much as it's silly and it's supposed to be cartoon-like, it's still sort of based on physics, right? Like if you say, well, I fly to the supermarket, I might say to you, well, you don't have a spaceship and you don't have wings. So, you know, you can't do that if your character doesn't have a spaceship and wings. So there's still a certain level of physics and reality to the game that makes the game fun. Once a game, you get a fair play where you can say, well, wings grow out of my back and the wind picks up and it shoots me to the grocery store in 1 second and I'm there and I have all the potatoes, right? And you can use that as your fair play, in which case you do a kind of informal, does the whole group feel that this is fair play? If the group agrees that it's fair play, it happens and you don't have to flip the coin. If the group decides it's not fair play because you like, usually they do that when you're too greedy, when you're like, I win the game, it's all mine, I'm successful. In that case, then usually people vote against you, in which case then you waste your fair play and it doesn't happen. But so that's where the name Fair Play. Fair Play actually, when I created this game, I was friends with a friend of mine who was German, and for some reason he got stuck on the word fair play. So is one, oh yeah, what you get one fair play per game. So if you're playing this game for an hour, you get it once, and that's it. So
Per
you should,
person, right?
per
Every
person.
person gets one.
Sorry, yes, each person gets it, but they get one each. And oftentimes people keep the fair plays. Kids that I play with oftentimes keep the fair plays to the very end of the game. Oh, and one other thing I'll just say before we start. Well, two other things I want to say. One is when you get to the end of the game, what I do, if you do actually end up completing the goals, what I usually do is I let everybody have one more round just to be silly. And that kind of, because sometimes if the group ends up being slightly competitive, where like they really wanted to get to it, giving everybody one last action afterwards sometimes kind of gives them that fun, like, well, I didn't win, but I get to do something else. Sort of, and it's oftentimes that's not an issue with fair play. You don't, it doesn't get too competitive or people get upset. But regardless, I feel that gives it like this sort of extra fun ending to it. And the one other thing I wanted to say is, I don't know how many people are familiar with things like Theater of the Oppressed and Augusto Boal, and that's sort of an idea. If you don't know, Augusto Boal, Boal, he was friends with Paulo Freire and took pedagogy of the oppressed and made it into Theater of the Oppressed, which is acting out one's oppression in a theatrical state to then figure out ways to undo that oppression, which is fabulous. But you can also use fair play, and I have done it. And I have a friend who does this all the time with fair play, who uses it to put people into like unusual current events, oppressive current news sorts of situations, and lets people sort of work through things over the last few. I think how Trumpians, that the game that I mentioned previously, came out was in the United States, at least, a lot of the kids I worked with were getting out a lot of stuff by a lot of our games of fair play. The like villain in the game ended up being Donald Trump. I can remember playing an entire game where we were inside Donald Trump's hair. But it's actually a great way for letting kids, like, or anybody, but especially kids, work out, like just kind of thinking through things and sort of having something that's a punching bag that you kind of can play with. It can be a beautiful game in that way. But the idea of the game really is to have fun. And I will say, sorry, I'm going to say one more thing before we play the game, and I'm mindful that we have 37 minutes, because I think this is important. When I started the Democratic Free School I mentioned 15 years ago, I was looking for volunteers to help work at the center, and a retired Montessori school teacher was like, "Hey, I'm interested in volunteering at your school, but I've never heard of self-directed education before. So I thought maybe I would sit back and observe for a while and see the differences between it and Montessori type of education, and just sort of see what's going on before I volunteer." And I was like, "That's fine." And she just happened to come in one morning when I was playing fair play with a bunch of like 5 to 7-year-olds. And the group that day happened to go in the adventure for whatever reason, I don't remember why, they decided they were all going to go to Spain. And so they all traveled to Spain. I forget how they got there, but it doesn't matter. And the Montessori teacher said, "Hey, can I talk to you in the hallway for a minute?" And I remember immediately feeling like I was in trouble. But so I went into the hallway, and she said, "I noticed that the kids went to Spain in this game." And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "I also happen to notice that there's a world map on the wall behind you." And I kind of look into the classroom and thought to myself, "Oh yeah, there is a world map. I kind of forgot that it was there." And she says, "I don't understand it. I imagine they're 5 to 7 years old. Most of these kids probably have never heard of Spain or know where it is or whatever. Why didn't you take the opportunity to point out where Spain is on the map?" And my jaw sort of dropped, and I looked at her, and I looked at her and I was like, nobody asked. And I like to think that that's to me, that's the difference between self-directed education and a methodology like Montessori education, where Montessori, you're taking playful instances to teach a lesson, right? As opposed to self-directed education, which is to play and play and play, to use A.S. Neal's words, right? And then if a kid says, hey, by the way, I think Spain is really cool and I want to learn more about it, then cool, you go and do something about Spain. But if you don't use that, so for me, yeah, Bruno, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, maybe this is a bit out of place, but as you brought this up, because we've been discussing with many friends about definition of self-directed learning or self-directed education, and we feel that there are few out there, and we've been struggling a bit to agree on something. I was just wondering, out of curiosity, and if you think it's out of place, it's totally fine. Which definition does it resonate more with you, of maybe the ones that are out there?
I mean, no, I think considering we're sitting here at a Summerhill Festival of Childhood conference, I think that's not out of place whatsoever. I mean, Bria and I both work for the Alliance for Self-Directed Education in the United States, that came up with the definition of it. That the definition, I think it's self-directed.org.
Yeah, I have seen your definition, or yeah.
I mean, for me, self-directed education is both a liberatory youth rights movement, as well as one that is against all forms of oppression. And so my beliefs are very much that the focus is on youth rights, but it's also a focus on all people's rights. Just looking at thank you, Brie. And yeah, so and that one should have I also, in maybe a way that I personally diverge from maybe even A.S. Neal's definition on self-directed education. For me, it is a political, there's a political ideology to it, which maybe we don't have enough time to go into here, but yeah, I'd be more than happy. Oh, and we should put, I'll just put my personal email. If anyone wants to, I'd be more than happy to talk more with you about that. That I put my personal email address in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
But let's play a shortened version of the game. So I hope you've written down some character traits, or at least have some thoughts on what your character would be. Oh, thank you for that too, bro. And let's just do the way I would do it with kids is I would have them each go around and introduce their character briefly. So if you want to play, shoot, I can't see when I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can see everybody's names. And I'm just going to go in order of people on the screen. I'm just going to call your name. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. And if you don't want to play, you can either just say, I don't want to play, or just stay mute, and I'll wait 2 seconds and then move on. So Greg, you're the first person on my screen. All right, did you create a character, or you have a thought?
Yeah, it's called Groat, and it's a troll.
Okay. Do you want to give us any an obsession or a personal habit or a despised thing?
Yeah, its obsession is eating stinky cheese.
Okay. So I'm going to write down Greg, stinky cheese, and any fear?
Yeah, cat hair.
Cat hair. I can't blame you for that one. All right. Just because of time, I'm going to be normally I would have each person list off each thing that they're doing, but I'm just going to very quickly go through each person. Kata, are you going to join us?
I try.
Okay.
We will see how it goes. My name is Shady, and I fear the dark. My reason for mental breakdown is sleep deprivation. and my obsession are pillows.
Pillows. And Shady is a person?
A cat.
A cat. Oh, okay. Cat. Okay. Is it Verena? Am I saying that right? You're mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, it is me.
No, sorry.
Oh,
No.
okay, in fact.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm just going to listen for now.
Okay. No worries. Thank you. All right. So Ivana, you're actually next. Am I saying that right? Ivana?
Yeah, I want to play, but I'm not ready at all. I was just thinking about it.
What's the first?
Improvise.
You can be you can be a human, you can be a creature, you can be
Okay, I'll be a bird, and
bird.
my name will be Dixie, and my obsessions are drink salty water.
Salty water. Okay.
No, it's not an okay.
That's fine.
I don't
We'll
think-
leave it.
Well, okay.
And maybe just a fear
A
or
fear,
something that you really despise or hate.
ants.
Okay. The insect, not your mother or father's sister. Okay, just clarifying. Okay, Dad, your turn.
Oh, okay. My name is Bozo, and I'm an explorer. My obsession is taking a midday nap, which is true, by the way. My fears are loud noise. Mental breakdown would be listening to heavy metal music. My hobby is music. And how's that?
I thought for sure you were going to say the loud noise was motorcycles, which I know is true, but
Yeah, you're right.
that's good. And now I can actually call you Bozo. This is great. That's good, Bozo.
They do anyway, Glenn.
Bria.
My name is Brian Broom.
Oh, right.
I am a literal star, like a gas that makes up stars. I fear dirty floors and coffee.
Dirty what?
I hate dirty floors
Oh.
and coffee. Or coffee on floors would be even worse. I hate academia.
Okay.
I can climb walls, and my obsession is singing opera and squeaky tones,
Opera.
which
And
I won't be actually doing.
You're a human?
No, I'm a star, like an actual.
Oh, right.
like,
Sorry.
gas star,
Right.
yeah.
You're a bunch of gas. I got it.
I'm a bunch of gas,
All right.
obviously.
Bruno, do you want to join in?
Sure.
Okay.
So my name is Fermin, and I'm a Spanish bullfighter. My
Okay.
obsession is eating olives. My fear are windows. I'm scared of windows.
The operating system by
No,
Microsoft?
the actual
No.
Windows.
Okay.
Oh, no,
I just
on the-
clarified.
And reasons for a total mental breakdown, stupid people.
We share this one. All right. Mitro?
Mirto, yeah.
Mitro. I'm sorry.
Okay, I am a cat with the name Joe,
Okay.
and my obsession is jumping above small lakes,
Okay.
and my fear is walking on sand. And I am addicted to stargazing. Looking
Oh,
at the
so
stars.
you're gonna stare at Bria's character a lot. Okay,
That works.
that works. Dimitra, do you want to go? All right. We'll come, if you want to join in, let us know. Thomas? Okay, and that's it for because Chris Sula said that they're not interested in, they just want to observe. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3. So you're probably not going to be able to read it, but I just wrote down, I make a little box and I put each person's name and I jot quick notes. And normally I would put down like the burnout points for each person. We'll kind of play without them for now, since we're just going to play for 20 minutes here. So it's not that big of a deal, but this will just kind of give you a feel of it. And I've played this game now in many places across the world. And each time it's different. But all right, so we're going to go in the order of how we put people down. So I'm going to give you your situation and your goals. Normally I would, you can kind of do the goals 2 different ways. You can give all of the goals up front. And if I was playing this game and I knew I had like an hour and a half to play it, I may make like 4, 5, or 6 goals, and they would be step by step. My son, Oliver, one of my own kids, has become crazed about running this game. And he plays the game really differently than me. He only gives 1 goal at a time. And he'll be like, all right, you got to do this. And then when you complete that, he's like, all right, now you have to go do this until you get to the final. And the game's different in that way. It creates a different sort of an environment. They're both fun. I'm going to give you I'm just going to give a couple goals. So the situation is you are all sent back to the year 1988. And you're in New Jersey in the United States. In fact, you're at Grover Cleveland Middle School in the 8th grade math class with Mrs. Dobbins, who was my actual 8th grade math teacher and probably the meanest person I've ever known. And Mrs. Dobbins doesn't like any of you and thinks you're all terrible at math. And she's keeping you all in the lesson and teaching you really pointless things about math that you're never going to need in your life, like the quadratic equation. Today's lesson is the quadratic equation. And so that's your situation, is you're all in that classroom. Your goals, in order, they have to be done in order, is you have to, oh, and I forgot to tell you, Mrs. Dobbins's evil power is she can call you Booby, which is what she used to call me. So not that I have trauma over this, but I have to say being able to be at a Summerhill festival and talk about evil Mrs. Dobbins makes me feel good. Okay, so you need to somehow get out of her class without her like getting you. You know, how she gets you, I don't know, but we'll figure that out. So you have to sneak out or lie to her, figure out a way to get out of the classroom, or be able to run so fast she can't catch you. However you get out, you get out. You have to get down to the cafeteria. These were, Bria and I made these goals together, so help me, Bria, if I get your goals wrong, but you have to get down to the cafeteria in the school, which in Grover Cleveland Middle School, Mrs. Dobbins was on the 2nd floor. The cafeteria was on the 1st floor. So we're going to play that way. So if you get downstairs to the cafeteria, you have to sneak in and steal ice cream from the freezer. And you have to shove it in her face. You have to go back up and,
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah, you have to smush it in her face. And then we'll make the last goal. Normally I would have a whole bunch of other goals in there. And then the last goal is somehow you have to make it to Summerhill. That's our goal, okay? So we could make this very elaborate, but we're going to leave it as that. So we're going to do, one other thing that sometimes people confuse when they're playing role-playing games for the first time. So if you've played role-playing games before, you probably are aware of this, but if you haven't, you can only control you, just like in real life. Like I can't be like, well, it's raining outside now, because I can't, right? I can't make it rain. Same thing in this game. You control your character. You can't control what's outside the door, what another person says, or anything like that. So when you make an action, you can't say, well, it starts raining and ice skates fall from the sky and I start skating away. Like it has to be about you and your character. So, all right, Greg, not to put the pressure on, but you're up first.
Okay, so can I, so I'm in a classroom. Have I got a pencil on my desk? Are there things?
I think we can assume you're going to have you'll have a math book, some papers, a pencil.
So I think what I'd like to do is try and distract her by throwing a pencil into the corner behind her, hopefully so she turns to look what it was.
And you can, I'll allow you with your intention is then to dash to the door?
Potentially, unless someone else has got a skill that they can add to it, so I'm trying to be collaborative.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. All right. So do you have a coin?
Yep.
All right, flip it.
Oh man. Yep. It was.
You were successful?
It was tails.
Oh, no, that's unsuccessful. Mrs. Dobbins comes over to look at your test scores, and you notice that on her sweater there's a whole bunch of cat hair, and it sort of flakes off onto you, and you're like, ah, and it's like sticking to you. It's horrible. You're down to 8 burnout points. I'm terribly sorry for that.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, Kata, it's your go.
I just use the time while Mrs. Dobbins is really busy with Greg, and I just dash out of the door.
All right, let's see if you can do it.
I have no idea which side is this. It says players, I guess.
I assume you have a yes and a no sort of a side to your coins. I don't know.
This has £1 on it, so it's not the queen. I guess the queen is the head.
The queen would be the heads, yeah.
So I guess it's a tail. So
as much as I don't want to make a monarchy the positive, but in any case, all right. So just as you're about to slip out the door, there's a power failure and the room goes dark. And of course, you'd hate the darkness. You're down to 8 burnout points as well. Ivana, we're looking at you to save us all here. You're mute.
So I'll try to fly away, and on my way, maybe I can pick up someone with me.
There's a troll, a bird, you're the bird. There's a cat, there's 2 cats. There's an explorer, a star, and a bullfighter. Which one do you think you can pick up as a bird?
I think the cats, and I'm flying so fast that the wind.
Do you want to pick up Shady or Joe the cat?
Oh, I can take both of them.
Both, one in each.
Yeah.
Talon, am I saying that right? All right, so you're going to pick them up, and are you flying out the door, out a window, at what?
From the window.
Okay. It's funny because I'm truly thinking of my school in my head. Like I remember this classroom. Go, flip a coin. Let's see. You have a coin.
Yep. And I think it's the tail. Yeah.
Wow, we're
Tough.
You go to pick up Joe, but Joe happened to be doing work counting, doing counting math homework, and the lesson was to count ants. And of course, you hate ants. So you're also down to 8 burnout points. It's terrible news for you. All right, Bozo.
Yes. Well, I jump up out of my student's chair and scream, looking out the window, that I see Elvis Presley out on the lawn. And Mrs. Dobbins is a great Elvis Presley fan, I believe. So she goes to the window to look for him, and I try to make it to the door.
All right. Flip. You have a coin?
Oh, yeah.
Tails?
Tails.
Oh, all right. So the problem is you're successful. You say, look, Elvis Presley, point out the window, but then you happen to look out the window as well. And there is somebody out there, but it's not Elvis Presley. It's Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh,
the heavy, yeah. So, and of course he's sitting there, it's terrible. In fact, you're down to 7 burnout points because you're my father. You lose 1 extra one.
Thank you very much.
All right, Brian Broom.
Okay, what is Mrs. Dobbins even doing anymore?
Well, let's see. She is standing at Greg's desk and she's flaking cat hair off of her sweater as she's looking out going to Ozzy.
All right, I'm gonna hope I can create enough of a distraction that everyone can run. I'm going to brush past her and try and light her cat hair sweater slightly on fire since I am a star, but not a lot on fire because I don't want to kill
Great,
her.
you're burning her.
So yeah, I'm gonna like brush past her and then like head for the door.
Okay.
We can't get tails again, right? No,
Notice
we can't.
she turned her video off so we can't. Oh, all right. Well, the good news is you light her on fire. The bad news is as you start running for the door, you slip and you fall on the ground and you see that there was dirty coffee spilled all over the floor. You're also down to 7 burnout points because you should know better than to play fair play with me. All right, Bruno. It's
So now she's on fire, right?
she's on fire.
Okay. Okay, so I want to make a bigger distraction, so I jump in front of her with my bullfighting cape and I start shouting at her like, hey, hey.
Is no one running? Everyone's just distracting her from everyone else.
And I got tails again.
Oh my God. All right, I have some really bad news for you because you take the bullfighting cape and you're like, hey, hey. And then you, for the first time, even though you've been in her classroom all year long, for the first time you make perfect eye contact with Mrs. Dobbins and you realize she's a stupid person. And of course you hate stupid people, but you're only down to 9 burnout points because you figured out that she's a stupid person. So, all right, Mitro, you're our only hope here. We have had all failures.
Wow.
What can you do?
I'm a little bit lost, but I
So am I.
because of English, but
okay.
yes.
You want? I'll summarize for you.
Okay.
Mrs. Dobbins, the teacher, she's on fire.
Yes.
Ozzy Osbourne, the metal guitar singer, is outside the window singing. There's cat hairs all over. There's a star that has slipped on the ground. Bozo the clown. Oh yeah. What else?
It's dark.
And it's dark. It's dark in the room. And no, but you're still all stuck.
Except for the fire. You can see the fire.
You can see Mrs. Dobbins on fire. So
Okay.
You do it.
I will start stargazing.
you're just gonna stare at Brian Broom. Is that the star?
Yes.
All right.
Maybe.
Let's see if you can if you have the ability to do so. You have to flip a coin. Do you have one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it's tails.
You realize you can't open your eyes.
Okay.
You take one burnout point. We're gonna skip since we have 11 minutes left. Sorry for the sirens. This round, you all have to feed your obsession. So you can also make an action if it's part of your obsession, but whatever it was that you decided that you really love doing, you have to do it this round. If you don't, you'll get knocked out. Greg?
Yeah, so I've got to go and eat some stinky cheese. Have I really? So what have I got to go and do?
That's what you got to do. Oh. I think for that one, he gets out of the room. I think that's a success for creativity. What do you think? Everyone think that's
Yeah, yep.
All right. We won't even give it. I hope he comes back. Kata? So Greg just ran out of the room, literally.
My
Oh, right,
obsessions
pillows.
were pillows, but I didn't get out of the room because they were just behind me.
Greg, we decided that was a fair play. You got out of Mrs. Dobbins' class because that was just too creative. So, Kata,
I have my pillow. What am I supposed to do now?
well, in the game you have to have a pillow.
I have my pillow. I always have my pillow. So
So
I
your
can
character
live-
normally would have a pillow as a
Yes,
possession.
going around with pillows all the time.
Is it just having the pillow? What do you do with the pillow? That's
I think that I just go and get a nap. It's
all right. So you're gonna
dark.
take a nap.
It's dark. You know what to do. It smells something really awful. It stinks. I have no idea what's that because it's dark. So I just get to have a nap.
Let's flip a coin. Let's see if you can take a nap.
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Let's.
congratulations. All right. We're gonna say you dream your way out of the room. Just for the sake of moving this game on, your body has floated out of the room in a dreaminess. Ivana, I think you're upset about ants right now.
Yeah. So, so I don't know if I understood, but I need to find the way to get my obsession.
Drink salt water, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it sweats salty? Is it?
Oh, I'll say, Mrs. I hate to take it there, but I'm going to. Mrs. Dobbins is very sweaty because she's on fire.
so,
So yeah.
So,
You do with that information as you please.
so I will find some drops of salty things, liquid, okay, from her.
Okay.
And then I need to fly away, basically.
Okay.
So
Flip to see if you can do it.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So you start flying, and Mrs. Dobbins is shaking because she's on fire, and some sweat goes, shh, and you go, and you drink it right as you fly out the window. Window or door?
Window.
Window. And you make it out of the room. We have some lucky people here. All right, Bozo.
Right. Well, I, love my midday naps, and I was all set to take one when I noticed that Mrs. Dobbins was on fire. Very upset about that, and because she's a pain, but she's a human being. So I decide, instead of cuddling up with my nap blanket, I wrap it around her and put out the fire. And she is so grateful, she lets me go to the cafeteria.
I think that would have to be a fair play. Can we do that as a fair play?
Sure.
So, all right, if you agree that this is fair play, that he can save Mrs. Dobbins by wrapping her in her nap blankie, and then she allows him to go to the cafeteria, give a heart or a thumbs up. All right. I think that's everybody. All right, that's fair play. You're in the cafeteria.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Brian Broom, you're laying in some coffee on the floor.
Whatever it means for a star to be laying down. I am going to start singing opera in squeaky tones at Mrs. Dobbins as I back out of the room.
I think I did that once in her class. I'm just saying.
I really hope that's true. Opera, though? Oh my God. Yeah. Tales.
Ridi Payacho. Tails, you realize that as you're singing the opera, not only is Mrs. Dobbins an academic, but oftentimes it's very academic-y to be singing opera. You're despised by yourself. Think of yourself, you're down to 5 burnout points. Whoa. Oh, actually, no, you would be, if that was your obsession, so you're knocked out. Sorry.
Great,
you're knocked
thanks.
Out.
I'll never sing opera again at me.
Bruno, we need to...
I need to eat olives, eating olives. So I remember that there is a vending machine in the corridor, and as I forgot my olives at home, I ran to the olive machine, vending machine, and tried to get olives from it.
Have you ever actually in real life seen an olive vending machine?
In Spain, we actually had
Do
those.
you really?
Yeah, I mean,
This is the
It's
reason
like
I
a
need to
snack.
move to Spain. This is
but it was New Jersey in the 80s, so maybe, yeah. Well,
whatever. New
maybe it's a
Jersey.
fair play, right?
Nuevo Jersey is the,
Yeah,
that's the, all right. Let's see if we can
Let's
get
see.
to the vending machine.
Heads.
Heads. All right. So you're eating olives. That we'll say the vending machine was in the cafeteria since we have 4 minutes left.
Okay, yeah.
Is Micho, you need to do your, whatever it is that you're obsessed with. Was something about jumping lakes?
Yes, jumping above small lakes. So,
Oh, you're on mute.
so I will start jumping above the lakes of the sweat of Mrs. Darling.
Okay.
and also the lakes of coffee that fell on the ground.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Now that's
Yeah.
being creative. Can you flip?
Yes. And again, it's tails.
Oh. All right. I'm gonna since we have 3 minutes left, and I want to leave a couple of minutes just to talk. I'm gonna say by mistake, instead of jumping over the sweat and the coffee, you jump over the ocean and you're in Summerhill and you've completed the goal.
Ah.
Congratulations, everybody.
Okay.
But in any case, that gives us, it's a very silly game. You can take it as you want. It's a fun thing to do with kids. With 3 minutes left, anything you want to ask me or Bria that you could? Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I'd just be really, I love it. It's a great game. It really is a great game. And I work primarily with 4 and 5 year olds. I'd just be really interested kind of what age, how you would do. I know you talked about drawing the characters, which I think is just ace. But how would you go about playing it? I'm really fascinated with how you might do it.
Yeah, with kids, what I like with 4, 5, 6 year olds, I just put markers or crayons or whatever and have paper, and I have them draw pictures, and then those that want to draw pictures, and then sometimes they like want to play it out, like if they're jumping over the lake, you can make it physical. If you're outside with them, you can make it a running around thing together. You really can take it anywhere, and just kind of think about the age of the kids you're working with. Those kids tend to be more kinesthetic, want to use their imagination more. In that case, I would be a lot less strict about, if they want to do something impossible, let them do it. That sort of a thing.
I think it's genius.
Thanks. Yeah, Ivana.
I work primarily in mainstream education, and I genuinely believe there's applications here for just trying to do something a little bit different with children.
Yeah.
So really, really exciting to have taken part. It's just, I love it. I love the nonsense of it, and I don't know, it's just, it's ace. So well done.
Thanks.
Really
I'm so glad you ended up showing up to this workshop.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was meant.
Let's end with Ivana wanted to say something, and then we'll since we have 1 minute left. You're in mute. Ivana, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I was saying that you can add also dialogues in it, like changing voices and characterizing. It would be so funny.
Yeah, you could really like act it out and do different voices, and I've even had kids who've dressed up.
Like in the woods or outdoor, and you can actually use the space and create the situation with whatever.
Well, we're out of time, so thank you all so much. This was fun, and I put the link to the game.
Thank you so much for the fun.
Thanks, Kata, for hosting us twice.
You're welcome.
Sorry, just confirming, we can share this outside, right?
Anyone you want to play it with, it's all yours.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dad. Bye.
Eat your vegetables.
Okay.